Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how we can redesign the network that we created in Lab 3. First thing I'm gonna show you how the topology will look like after redesigning the network. So in this new network, we are going to add another subnet, which is 172.31.1. And this subnet we are going to add for the DNS and DHCP server, which represents here in this diagram. You can see this server, it will be our DHCP DNS server with this subnet. But for now, we are using loopback 99 to represent the DHCP server by creating this loopback on the router. And actually the plan also is to move the DHCP server from the branch offices in Montreal and Toronto to the head office, which is Ottawa. So a new subnet will be added, a DHCP server will be moved from the branch offices to the head office. And actually, for doing that, we have to prepare a proposal and a design document, and our design document should be somehow that we experience the least actually downtime when doing this project. So we suppose that the proposal has been submitted and approved, and we have prepared also the design document. I'm just gonna show you how we can reconfigure this network for this new design. And actually what we are going to do is to uh, build the DHCP server on Ottawa office, to configure the Ottawa router as the DHCP server. And then we are going to use the IP helper address on the branch offices in order to function as a DHCP relay agent. The DHCP relay agent is a server that relays the DHCP discover messages from the clients to the DHCP server. I'm going to show how we're gonna do this configuration. So I'm going to the topology. As you can see, the topology is exactly the same as what we had in Lab 3, but here we can see that the server form has been added. Just I have added this server to represent the servers, but it is not, I will not turn it on because at the moment we are using loopback 99 on Ottawa router to represent the DHCP server. But later we will have a DHCP and DNS also. It will function as also the DNS. So I'm going to connect to our Ottawa router first, configure as a DHCP server and the DNS server. Loopback 99, I'll add the this interface like the loopback to represent the DHCP server. Also, you have to keep in mind that when you want to configure these branch office routers as the DHCP relay agents, we should have a route to this new subnet. And therefore, we need to add this subnet to our OSPF process, which I'm gonna show you shortly. So I'm going to connect to these routers. So Ottawa, Montreal, and Toronto. So for the Ottawa office, what I'm gonna do is configure the DHCP server. Exactly, I'm using the exact block of IP addresses which I was using for this network. So if I go back to my IP schema, you can go back to the previous video and actually watch how I did the calculation for the IP schema and IP addresses. So I'm using the same subnets for this new DHCP server. The only difference is now we are configuring on the Ottawa, and then we will be removing the DHCP servers from these locations ultimately and configure them as the relay agents. So on the on the Ottawa router, I'm gonna configure IP DHCP pool for VLAN 10. The network which I'm gonna use is 172.17.1.0.255.255.255.0. The default router is 170. The first usable IP address I use for 172.17.1.1. Also, I'm gonna add the DNS server because I will have the DHCP and the DNS server. The DNS server is actually 172.7, the new subnet 31.1.100. I'm gonna do the same for VLAN 20, but the different network. 172.17.1.16, 255, 240. The default router will be 172.17.1.17, and the DNS server is the same for all subnets, 71.1.100. And I'm gonna do the same for VLAN 30. The network will be okay, 172.17.1.1.128, 255, 255, 255, 240. The default router will be 172.17.1.129, and the DNS server will be 172.31.1.100. And the last one I'm gonna do for VLAN 40, and the network that I'm gonna use is 172.17.1.144, 255, 255, 255, 240. The default router will be 172.17.1.145, and the DNS server 172.31.1.100. Also, I'm gonna exclude IP in DHCP, exclude address, the default gateways or the default routers. I have to exclude them from the DNS pool. Is then 17, then 129, and lastly 145. Should run section DHCP so we can see our DHCP server configuration. Okay, I save my configuration. I go to Montreal. So what I'm gonna do here, I have to let me go to the topology again. So I have to configure the relay agent, DHCP relay agent on these interfaces and point them to this new subnet or the DHCP server. So how I'm gonna do that, I will go to the each sub interface. So in Montreal, so if I show IP interface brief, so you can see we have these sub interfaces for VLAN 10, VLAN 20. If I see the running config of 00.1, so I can see that it is just the IP address set. So what I need to do, I go to Ethernet 00.10 and I put the IP helper address. And what is the helper address? Is the IP address of the DHCP server, which we are gonna use on Ottawa, the 31.1.100. I will use the same for 20. Okay. And actually, I forgot to build this interface L99 and put the IP address of 172.31.1.100. It's 255.255.255.0. No shot. Okay, and I can see that this interface is up. Okay, now I'm gonna do the same for uh, Toronto. I have to turn off the IP domain name lookup. Uh, if you turn off the IP domain name lookup, it will you won't see such a thing because now it is trying to translate. It will take a bit to okay. So show run int. So which interfaces? So we have interface again 00 sub interfaces that I've created for VLAN 30 and VLAN 40. Ethernet 00.30. I can see this only IP address. So I go to 00.30 and I put IP helper address 172.31.1.100 and I will do the same for 40. Okay, now I'm gonna remove the DHCP server configurations. DHCP conf t no okay, no IP DHCP pool 30, no 40, and I will also remove the DHCP exclude IP addresses. And actually just one by one. And 145. Now if I show run section DHCP, you can see there is no DHCP configuration. Save my configuration, I go to Montreal, I do the same thing, show run section DHCP. So I go to conf t and I issue the command no IP DHCP pool VLAN 10, VLAN 20, and no IP DHCP exclude address 172.17.1.1.170. Now, if I show run section DHCP, there is no DHCP configuration. Okay, one other thing I mentioned that we should have a route. If I just issue the command show IP route, I don't see, or if I issue the command show IP route 172.31.1.100, there is no route. So in order to be able to relay the DHCP discover messages to the DHCP server, we should have a route. And in order to have a route, we have to add this to the OSPF process. Right now, if I go on Ottawa and issue the command show IP OSP, show run section OSPF, I can see that this subnet has not been advertised in the OSPF process. So what I'm gonna do, I will go to router OS1 and I issue the command I network 172.31.1.0 000.255. 1 second. Yeah, so I have to also put the area code. Okay, now if I show run section OS, So I can see that I have advertised this route 31, which is my DHCP server. Now if I go to Montreal, so show IP route 172.31.1.100, and now I can see that I have a route. I have a route to this location. It says this route is coming from 10.10.10, which is uh, Ottawa. So I will have a route to that subnet. And this is the IP address of the serial interface, which is between the uh, Ottawa and Montreal. So if I go to this one, 192.168.1.1, show IP int brief, 192.168.1.1. It says from, because this one is connected to this serial link, and from this serial link we have access to loopback 99. The same thing for Toronto office. If we go to Toronto office and show IP route 172.31.1.100, you can see we have a route. Okay, cool. So for now it should be and just I write my configurations. It should be okay by now, and we should be able to see that our clients get the DHCP address. So I'm gonna start my clients in both locations, and then we will verify. So even before I connect to these PCs, if I issue the command on Ottawa, show IP DHCP bindings, I should see the DHCP addresses. So right now my clients are booting up. I don't see anything, but once they come up, they should be able to get the DHCP server. I'm gonna also connect to them. You can see that my client is still not up. Okay, once they're up, still I don't see any IP, but once they are up and running, I'm just gonna also log in to check the IP address. In the meantime, again, I issue, and you can see now three systems are up and they are obtaining IP addresses. This itself is a verification, but also I'm gonna check on the clients. So if I go here to network configuration, and the IP, you can see it shows 1, 2. So we should be able to see the same IP here on the VLAN 10. Of course, this is 3 systems, and now this is 4. Like all 4 of them are getting the IP, and from the Ottawa. Okay. Okay, I'm going to the Ethernet. Let's close this one. I can go to the command prompt, issue the IP config, or also from here, because I want to connect to the, yeah, it seems it's a bit frozen. Okay, let me just connect to the command prompt. and issue the command ipconfig/all, and you can see the IP address that I got. And look at here is my DHCP, and it's showing the DHCP as 192.168.1.1. The same thing for the PC in VLAN 20. If I just log in, I'm gonna also connect to VLAN 30 at the same time. I'll just hit log in. This is VLAN 30, and also I'm gonna log into VLAN 40. So this is VLAN 20, which is booting up. So VLAN 20, I'm checking the network configuration, the IP address, and you can see 118. This is the same as what we saw here. And this is like, if you check also, you can check the MAC address to see if it is using the same MAC address. Because if you go here, and you can see the same MAC address as here. So this is the MAC address of this system. So VLAN 20, the same MAC address, compare 18 with this system. It means this system is getting the IP from the DHCP server. If you go to VLAN 30, the same thing we should see. And 130, this is 130, and look at the MAC address. The MAC address is the same, 0B00000B. And let's go to the last one, VLAN 40. And if we look at the, yeah, so 146, and the MAC address 0C, you can see it here. So that all four systems got the IP from the DHCP server. So the goal was to move the DHCP server from the branch offices to the Ottawa, add another subnet, and also we advertised this into our OSPF process, and these branch offices were able to access this subnet, and therefore our clients were able to receive the DHCP address from the Ottawa office. I hope it's been useful. Thank you very much.